Monster Hunter Wilds is pointless. That's right, I said it. Get angry, shout at me in the comments. You've probably already paused the video and headed straight down there anyway, so, I mean, you're already gone. But for anyone else who's here to actually hear me out, I like Monster Hunter Wilds. I said plenty of good things about it here. It's a game I'll continue to play, and I'm excited to keep at it and see it evolve over time, but today I just wanted to break it down in a different way and pick apart some of the other feelings. It does a lot of great things, but nothing is perfect, and there are always going to be things that feel like they could have used a different approach or more time on the drawing board, or maybe just didn't need to be there at all. I'm going to take a look at 3 different points about Monster Hunter Wilds and break down what I think could have been different. First off is the open world. The idea of an open world Monster Hunter game was something I was very excited about. It's something that I had been hoping for a long time. It made sense, right? A world in which these monsters exist and we explore the ecosystem, we research the habitats, we track down the creatures. Instead, we just kind of lost the point of the series. Even with the largely familiar map structure, it just became something quite needless. I think if it had leaned further in that direction, reaching for a completely open world structure with scalable mountains and crossable ravines, then it'd be something entirely new and exciting, but instead it just took a couple of steps through that door but made sure not to go too far, leaving it with some either jarring elements or just, again, kind of pointless. Look, you can seamlessly travel between one locale and another, but also not really. It's just a corridor of hidden loading. Like, it's not like the forest is alive while I'm in the desert, and that's kind of the point that feels missing. It's not a world, it's just maps with a loose dynamic keeping them technically connected, but on a very base level. It lands in a middle ground which doesn't hit either target as strongly as it could. It's not a huge improvement over the beloved Monster Hunter formula, and it's not a huge step towards an open world structure that you might imagine. It's easy to say, if this, if that, but if Monster Hunter Wilds has stuck to what it knows so well without partially stepping in another direction, I have no doubt it would have been regarded as the best of the series unanimously. However, if it had leaned fully into an open world structure instead, giving us a new style of Monster Hunter that sets itself apart from the expected formula, in a way that something like Breath of the Wild did for the Zelda series, then I could honestly see this being as big as Breath of the Wild for 2025, and a surefire choice in the lineup for Game of the Year considerations. Where it falls now, however, it's a good game, but there will probably be better, and soon. My second point kind of plays into the first, with the semi-open world structure taking place. The multiplayer is a bit needlessly complicated and redundant at points. Monster Hunter is a series with a primary focus on playing with others, working together to track down monsters and take on formidable battles. And that's still here in Wilds, nothing is stopping you from doing that. But in this supposed world of exploration, you can explore with friends, in a way. But that's kind of it. Like, you can wander around, collect things, come across dynamic monsters, but it's an entirely different instance from anything else. If you want to then take on quests from Alma with those friends or alone, you can't. You'll first have to break away from the shared environment link and then stop the open world multiplayer mode and then go into the traditional quest multiplayer mode, lobby, squad, party link, I don't know. I'm not going to be one to claim I know all about the ins and outs of game development and back-end networks, so this purely comes from the consumer side of things, but it feels like sometimes it works against the idea of having this open world structure in an already established multiplayer series. I mean, just the hoops you have to jump through with the multiplayer menus, it feels like there are numerous things, all with different names, and yeah, a lot of it might be one and done with the same friends once initially added, but still, how did multiplayer get so messy in this series? I don't know. Anyway, the final point is the way the game presents itself. Monster Hunter Wilds has a good story, and one that's incredibly cinematic like nothing else in the series, but until you see the credits, that's probably all you'll be doing. There's no real reason to go and get involved with any busy work throughout the campaign, and you will fare absolutely fine going it solo with whatever gear you can craft along the way, and no roadblocks or sidetracking required. On one hand, it's great that people aren't forced to grind, but on the other hand, at least some semblance of intrigue off the main path is generally quite key to a game, especially one that's aiming to open itself up, both in world scale but also in audience. Even then, while you can go and do optional stuff or explore as freely as you wish, it's just, say it with me now, pointless. Most of the systems of this game don't even come into play until the story is done. The game doesn't teach you how to capture monsters until the post-game, and the dynamic weather elements and seasonal changes, something that this game can easily boast as its frontrunner of technical achievement, doesn't happen until you finish the story. Yes, this sounds like complaining, and I know Monster Hunter is notorious for having significant post-game focus, but they also usually give you more reason to enjoy the game during the actual, game. After 25 hours, I hit the end of the story, and yet still I thought, is that it? It culminated, it was a complete story, but there was so little else. Like, Monster Hunter Rise and Monster Hunter World feel more open and vast in the base games than this new open world entry, which is something I wasn't expecting to feel. And part of this might be the approachability of it. There's been a lot of loud conversation about this game being easy, and yes, it's definitely easier than the previous entries, but that's not what's wrong with it. Having the game be accessible to a new audience is always a good thing, but the issue here is that the base game is nothing spectacular for newcomers, and is nothing spectacular for returning fans. It just is. And when the credits roll, a large portion of newcomers will feel like they are done with the game, while returning fans will then just be getting started, but that's still like 20 hours. Now, the game certainly isn't bad, that's not what I'm saying. I enjoyed it plenty, and I think it's great, but it's important to recognize where things don't really work, and why. Things could have been done a little differently, and it could have made all the difference. Anyway, I'm done. How angry are you on a scale from 1 to 10? Or maybe you have some of your own qualms, so please do let me know. We don't have to be negative, but we can share criticisms and appreciate them in the same way as that which we like about the games. So, okay, bye.